Sorry, 58. Okay?
Torah 58.
Torah 58. So this is a very complex Torah. It's a very nuanced Torah.
What's the
That's why I
title?
waited 2 years to teach it.
Title?
Everything comes from that. Yeah, let me don't put me on the spot now. Let me think about it, okay? Okay, so very quick recap for the people who are in the class. Everybody please listen. Are you sleeping or you're on your phone? Or you eating? Are you just staring at your food? It's going? Okay, good. So listen, everybody listen. Okay, we started with a very, very mysterious Zohar. We're not going to talk about that right now. Then we said, in the desert, we had the well of Miriam. It was in her scoop, we had this well. We know that this comes from the right side spiritually of Chesed. That side is always connected to water. And we learned that Avraham Avinu, right, he dug wells. So that was Rav Nachman's connection. And what was Avraham's whole thing? To give chesed. What's the greatest chesed you could do? Teach another Jew Torah. Specifically those who are far from Hashem. And that was Avraham's whole thing. So Miriam had this same schut, this concept of water. When she passed away, it left. Aaron had the clouds. He comes from the left side within the three siblings, okay? So because he comes from the left side, his side is more connected to physicality. What's the concept of a cloud? Clouds cover, they conceal. So, but it's a good concealment. It's for a benefit. The left side is good spirituality, not the bad side, okay? So that's a cloud. What did the cloud do? It made their clothes nice, pressed, looking good for 40 years in the desert. Yes, dry cleaning. Yeah? So that all came refined. It all came from Aaron because he represents the left side within the three siblings. And in his schut, they had clothing. So you see, from Miriam, they had drinks, water. From Aaron, they had clothing. And from Moshe, what was in Moshe's schut that we got? Man, which is food. Food, very good. So you see food, drink, and clothing. Right? Rav Nachman says later on in this lesson that each one of these is another reference to Torah. Water, like Yeshaya says at the end of time, everybody who's thirsty for water, come. So therefore, what Miriam, the water was really da'at. Okay? What about the clothing? So he says, anybody who wears good clothing, come be a leader. That was the pasuk. No, whoever, if you have good, the pasuk says, you have great clothing, come be our leader. So Rav Nachman says, what does that mean? A king rules with his Torah, his da'at. So meaning there's something to do with his clothing that allows him to rule, meaning his Torah is also an element of his clothing. He is clothed within his Torah. Rav Nachman says that when a person knows his Torah so well, it's in his heart, he doesn't have to look it up, it's just like a part of his consciousness, then that Torah itself becomes his clothing. He's wearing it. He's not looking it up, he's wearing it. It's always on, okay? So another reference to Torah. The final reference to Torah is the man. Like the pasuk says, he says, this bread, this thing is bread. He says, who? Who? So Rav Nachman says, why say who? The pronoun who, which means he, for the bread. Say it. So Rav Nachman says, because Moshe was saying, I myself am the bread. I am the lechem. And what's Moshe? Moshe is da'at, like the Arizal says. So you see in all three of these cases, in the schut of these three siblings, they got Torah, because they all came from Levi, who was the harbinger of Torah and the Jewish people, which is why they were never enslaved in Egypt. But they each represent a different element of da'at. One person represents the right side, which is water. The other represents the left side, which is clothing. And then the middle, which is food.
How does Miriam represent Torah?
Because that water that was in the desert, the Zohar makes very clear, all that whole stuff with the water, they didn't have water, they were thirsty. It was for deep Torah insights.
The well stream is always connected to Oh, Miriam was a woman.
And therefore what?
So therefore, the aspect of Torah wouldn't make sense that it would be coming from her.
So Miriam was very unique because she was a prophetess. There was 48 prophets that were men, there was 7 that were women. She was unique in that she did have a chelik in Torah. Okay. Okay. Good. So now, We did this. Great. So where do these three things come from? They all come from da'at. That's the whole reason why the Gemara says, why is it that after they all passed away, Moshe was still alive, they all came back? Meaning the well came back and the clouds came back and Moshe's merit, because Moshe himself is the embodiment of da'at. And as a result of him being da'at, he can have all three of these things. Why? Because they all come from da'at. That's why the other siblings, they wouldn't be able to manufacture all three, because they were not the embodiment of da'at. They had an aspect of it. But Moshe himself really was the embodiment of da'at.
Why did Hashem allow them to have this attribute?
No questions, Jerry. No questions. Okay. The question is, what was it about Moshe that allowed him, so to speak, to embody da'at so much to draw these three levels? Answer is three things. Okay? One, he taught Torah to others. Rav Nachman teaches very clearly, many places in Likutei Mohoran, there's a very big inyan of teaching to others. One of the reasons is because it allows you to expand your da'at.
It's a little selfish.
And so he's not saying to do it in order for your own self. He's just saying, as a result, de facto, you will get this extra boost of da'at. Meaning you're doing it for them, but then you get more da'at as a result. Why do you get more da'at? Because Rav Nachman says you have limited bandwidth in your mind. So what happens is, if you're steiging and you're learning, you think I could just learn endlessly. But you can't. You have to actually empty what's in your mind to get new da'at, Rav Nachman says. How do you do that? By teaching what you know.
That also connected both by saying
yes, very good. Also connected. Okay? So when you say out the Torah that you know, you're emptying that spiritual space in your mind. You can have new da'at as a result. That is chesed. That was Abraham's whole thing. What was Yitzchak's whole thing? Yira. So Rav Nachman says, when you learn, don't learn to accrue wisdom. Don't learn to accumulate wisdom. Learn to increase yira. This all came from the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov used to rail against all of these people that learn for the sake of learning. It says very clearly in Pirkei Avot, why are you learning? In order to do.
So learn for the sake of fear of Hashem as opposed to for the sake of wisdom.
Yes.
So that's going to change a lot of the subjects that you learn.
Yes, that's right. That's right. And then you're going to say, but so many yeshivas are not learning Mussar and all of these things. They're learning Gemara all day and night, and they never come out with Maaseh.
But the Gemara also gives you year, no? That aspect of Gemara gives you year also.
Right, halacha.
Because Gemara doesn't. It's rooted in dinim.
Year comes from din, and Gemara is very much rooted in intellect, and there's no Pesach at the end. The Pesach comes in halacha.
So learning halacha will give you year as opposed to
just Gemara straight, meaning there's a place you need to learn Gemara 100%, but the main thing is halacha.
So Rav Daniel right now is putting together, we're got a big project, putting together a set of Gemaras, but with halacha.
Yeah, the guys in my kollel are all learning Gemaras, but they all have Pesach halacha in it. And they come out with what Rav Badi Yosef holds in the end and all these things. Why? Because Sephardim are very makpid to learn halacha because they're so connected to Europe. Meaning, no, I'm saying like they don't really enjoy, so to speak. I know this is a generalization. I'm sure that there's, but in general, Sephardim don't like learning, and you're left like, okay, what do I do? They want to know what to do at the end. Ashkenazim can learn every single day and not know anymore what to do, and they're happy as a clam because they like learning like that. They just like that whole thing learning. Okay, so he's saying that what's that? so he's saying stimulation. Yeah, it's first of all, it's just a lot of happiness you get from learning like that. It's very intense learning. It's very fun to learn with somebody else. The Torah is beautiful, and it's so many. Right?
What if that gives them happiness? So isn't that also an aspect of year? Meaning an aspect of Avodat Hashem, like Gemara is making him happy.
So that's good.
That's not the highest.
It's not about high. It's about why am I doing it? If I'm doing it to get here and along the way I'm very happy learning, it's amazing. You need to be happy learning. Not says in the very first Torah of Likutei Mohoran, you have to be happy when you learn. Right? But why am I learning? I'm learning to increase my emunah. That's why, for instance, in a yeshiva, they're not going to say it makes sense for you now to leave yeshiva instead of learning, go speak to Hashem in the woods for 2 hours. That's insane. Why is that insane for them? Because the highest form of worship for them is learning. They think that this is where God is at, only, or primarily. And therefore, if you go into the woods, why am I going into the woods? To increase my emunah. Because that's the whole reason I'm learning in the first place. So this is another extension of that. In fact, it may even be more effective than it. Or at least it's equal and I can use both.
So for them, since it's secondary, it's like looked out like secondary.
Yeah, it's not that they don't think God doesn't exist and Hashem doesn't hear. No, they do, but like you can get more when you learn.
It's connected everything.
Also, the Shekhinah is the Torah, the Zohar says. There's a lot of reasons that are true that they, right? But the main difference in focus comes from why am I learning? The learning should be for the sake of doing, which means having yira. Amunah. To increase your amunah. They're connected. They're very connected. Very connected. They're both female principles spiritually, and they're both very connected. To the degree that you have yira, to that degree you have amunah, and vice versa. They're very connected.
So for instance, I'm saying, why don't you just learn the Emunah concepts all the time?
You should. Why do you think Breslovers are busy teaching it every day? Okay, so obviously this is very much not like generation.
But just learning it is only an aspect of getting there.
100%. 100%. It's very important. That's why I think I told you actually. No, but like a year or two ago, when a person has a mind for learning, they can, right? They're good at it. They can and they enjoy doing it. There can be a yetzer hara in that, because then, like so to speak, you get a little emunah, and now like, okay, let me go steig and gemara and halacha all day. And what happens is you really never perfected your emunah, and you just burn out. Big time. And then you don't want to go back because you see who are the guys who are learning that emunah all the time? They're like Nebach, like they're not learning, they're working all day, they're in the secular world, like I'm steiging. The answer is we are very far from real emunah. And therefore, I really believe, at least from my perspective in my life, I need that emunah every day as part of my whole thing.
Learning it?
It's got to be a part of it.
Learning it or connecting to it somehow?
Both.
So what would you be connecting to the Emunah every day? Learning. Learning wise.
Reading Rav Nachman's Torah. Learning Rav Nachman's Torah. It doesn't have to specifically be about the subject of Emunah.
But it's all connected.
To the tzaddik. Attachment to the tzaddik brings it over. Okay?
It's like balance, learning.
You need all of it. You need all of it. Yes. Interconnected. You need all of it. But I think that our generation, because our generation is so far removed from Emunah, because our parents are not religious, and because we didn't grow up, and even if we went to yeshiva, we weren't connected, right? So all of these things leave us at a very big depth in Emunah. And then on top of that, Rav Nachman says that the Satan at the end of time is going to be the power of your imagination. The only thing that defeats the power of imagination is emunah, meaning we're going to need even more emunah than anybody else has, right? So it just needs to be always there. Right? There's some people who will say that learning about emunah all the time is like it's overkill. Overkill. It's too much. It's like you gotta get the bread and the water. You gotta learn Gemara. And then you learn a little bit of learning. I don't think for our generation it's the case. I really don't. We need more. We're very low in this area, okay? And actually, it's the whole thing we're here to perfect. That's our whole generation's thing. So.
And therefore, we want to put our emphasis where
we need to perfect. Maybe in a past life, we already were with these Geonim and we were learning and steiging into
we rectified
we rectified it. And I'm not the one who says that. Rav Chaim Vital says it very clearly. He says the last generation before Mashiach, their tikkun is not in learning. It's in the feeling. It is what it is. Okay, good. Now, these two, and what's the last thing that you need in order to get this dye? No, wait. The last thing that you need is that your words should be Measured. Medactic. What does it mean? When you teach Torah to others, how do you teach it? Do you say, you're not doing this, you're not keeping this, you have no idea what you're talking about? So if Nachman says, when you do this, not only do they not get from you, but you're actually blemishing your ability to receive higher dad. Part of your ability to get higher dad is that everything that you give over is with love. Meaning you give it over in a way that's empathetic. You give it over in a way that's kind. You give it over encouraging, a way that's inspiring. All of these things don't just benefit the listener, that also impacts your ability to receive higher dad. And what do all these three things do? So we have the chesed, we have the gebura, we have the tiferet, right? We have teaching others, we have learning for the sake of yira, and we have teaching with love. When you do these three things, Rav Nachman says, you have what you need to fight the Brit. Because the whole reason a person gets da'at is because he's destroyed Amalek. He's killing Amalek. And Amalek's whole thing is to attack your Brit. Yes. Nachman says in this Torah, Amalek's whole goal is simply to get you to a seat.
That is to cool you down.
Yes, that's cooling you down.
Yeah, literally.
That's exactly what's cooling you down.
Your breath is fire, heating you up.
So for momentarily it heats you up in order to cool you down. Okay. Right? Like the word says, Rashi says two pshatim there. With why I say kar, they came to cool you down. One is that they came to cool, and the other one had to do with carry. Seminal mission. So Rav Nachman's connecting there. How does he cool you down? By getting you to do a seminal mission. Because the word kar, to cool down, comes from the root word carry, which is seminal mission.
A lot of seminal mission usually happens at night as well.
That's right. Some people work very hard not to dafka, and they not even on purpose at night, because Amalek is very strong.
And that's another reason why you should wake up at night.
Oh, good.
You shouldn't have a cat.
Okay, good. Like that. I see. Why? Because da'at is what holds off the issues with the Brit. And how do you get da'at? Through these three things. This is everything we learned so far. Everybody with me? Then what happens when you get the Brit? So we said when you get the Brit and you get da'at, what is the da'at made up of? Lechem, Mishnah. 2 loaves of bread. Because what do we say Kabbalistically these 2 loaves are? They are Chochmah and Bina. And when they're together, it's called da'at. So we learned that the whole reason we have these 2 things of bread is because that represents the Yesod. Because the whole reason you get those higher levels of consciousness is only when you perfected your bread. How do we see a connection and a proof? Yosef. He was on the car, right? He was on the chariot that was called Mishnah. Second, Mishnah. So Nachman connects Gezer Shava. Why is it that over here we say Lechem Mishnah, and over here we say that he had a Merkava Mishnah? He had right, it was the second. The answer is, it's because only through Yosef's merit does anybody get these 2 loaves of bread. What's the connection that we learned? The gematria of Lechem is 78. You have 2 that you need to do a motzi on. Why do you need 2? Because if you times it by 2, it's 156. What's the gematria 156? Yosef. So what you have in front of you is the work of Yosef. Meaning Yosef is the master of the bread, and through the master of the bread you get Chochmah and Bina. That's the 2 things of bread in front of you. And the whole enjoyment that you're getting on Shabbat is da'at. It's a higher level of da'at. That's why you get an extra level of your soul. Because during the week you should not have 2 loaves of bread. That's excess. But what happens that now that you have a higher level of your soul, then you actually get higher level da'at from these 2 things of bread.
It's also on Shabbos is revelation. Throughout the week is excess. As opposed to on Shabbos.
Yeah. Wait.
Because Yosef is an aspect of da'at.
No, because Yosef is the master of the bread, and to some extent, the Rav Ginsburg explains this. Even though we said that Shlomo Melech was the wisest man who ever lived, he says to some extent Yosef was. Now, why was Joseph? Because he perfected the bread.
If we had the highest da'at.
Yes, and we showed in the beginning of the classes kabbalistically how that works. The Yesod actually comes up once it's perfected. It rises from the level of Yesod all the way up between Ima and Abba, which is Chochmah and Bina, and it receives from there Shefa, which is Mochim, and then it goes back down and it unites with the Malchut, which is us. But if your bread is,
It goes up and down.
it goes up and down, meaning it's the carrier. That's why Yosef is called Yosef, because he gathers. Meaning, what is he gathering? From Iman Abba. And then he brings it back down to Malchut.
That's literally what happened.
Yes.
Whenever he was Potiphar. He had to go up to see Yaakov.
Yeah.
Because I did, he had to go out to see Yaakov.
Yes.
And that brought down Sheva.
Yes.
And he didn't do it Potiphar's.
Oh, nice. I like it. Very deep. Okay, good. So deep. Okay? So then what happens? Joseph comes back down, and there Rav Nachman says, when do you get to experience this higher level of consciousness? On Shabbat. Why? Because Shabbat is Malchut. So really what he's doing is he's showing you the practical applications of this very deep Zohar. That the Yesod, Yosef, your Brit, the Tzaddik, goes up and receives Mochim, and then on Shabbat, it comes down and you receive the efforts of your toil. Everybody understand what we're saying?
This is a bogged down concept.
And you know what's amazing? You see elsewhere in Likutei Mohoran, Rav Nachman says, what should be the bulk of your studies on Shabbat? It says specifically the mysteries of Torah. Why should you be learning the mysteries of Torah on Shabbat? Because your da'at is elevated. That's why, because you have the extra level of your soul. What is this extra level of your soul that you get on Shabbat? Right? I always have this question. You get a second soul. What does that mean? So the Zohar says very clearly, it is the part of your soul that is the most inner, that is the deepest, called Yechidah. Is the most inner aspect of your soul, and it's that part of your soul that can chop mysteries of Torah. So therefore, during the week, it wouldn't help you to learn those mysteries. You're not going to understand. But if during the week you work on your Brit, then on Shabbat, you open these things up, and it's going to hit you in a very deep way. And not only that, Rav Nachman says, that's going to stay with you the rest of the week, because it makes an imprint, it makes an impression on you, it changes you. This is everything we did together so far. Okay? And then he said, as a result of that, that's why it says, this pasuk. We did this last week. Rak shito yiten v'rapo yarapeh. The pasuk says that if you hurt somebody and they're at a commission, you need not only to pay for their healing, you need to pay for the time that they were not working. That's why the double lashon of rapo yarapeh. You need to pay for both, so to speak, their physical and their spiritual healing. You'll notice that when we say that we want a refuah shema for the goof and for the neshama. So if Nachman says, where does that refuah come from? Where do you get healing like that? Is there like an actual spiritual thing that takes place that we can connect to? Yes. When you get the Lechem Mishnah on Shabbat by rectifying your Brit during the week, those two levels of da'at, Tochel and Bina, they are what heal your soul and your body. One heals the body, one heals the soul.
Actually, bread.
And the aspect of bread, which is da'at. Meaning, what is it that heals? It's da'at. Da'at is what heals. That's why elsewhere Rav Nachman says something very interesting. If a person is sick and they're not well, he says they should just learn as much Torah as they can. Because once his da'at is whole, he's going to be healed. Why? Because da'at is what heals. So therefore, where do you get this influx of da'at, the greatest, on Shabbat? When you fix your Brit. How do you fix your Brit? Teaching others Torah, learning for the sake of Yira, and speaking to others words of empathy and compassion and lifting them up and inspiring them. Right? This is everything we did so far. Very interesting Torah, right? I know it's very complex and I'm talking about a lot of different things, but we're doing...
I think you dumbed it down first.
Okay, thank God. What?
Let's try to understand.
I can't do like a 10th review.
No, this is the last time. By the way, you should know you get something from every time.
I know.
Wait, stop.
What happens if you start like, let's say you're not going to sleep. You stay awake until 2, 3 o'clock.
Yes.
You can do it by this time?
Yeah, of course.
Before you sleep.
Yes, definitely. If you're a night owl, so do it before you go to sleep, not after.
And in any particular that you have to
There's
read?
something called Tikkun Chatzot.
Huh?
In the Siddur.
Okay.
I read in the
So you want a new material? No?
just a quick back. I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry.
In Tikkun Atzot, it said something about reading Birkat Shachar. Is that only if I was asleep?
Yeah.
But if I was awake the whole time, I don't have to reread Birkat Shachar?
Not at the hour that you're doing it.
At 1 a.m. or 2 a.m.?
No, you don't take Birkat Shachar. Okay? Good. So now he says like this. Okay, pay attention because we're going to try to finish this Torah now, so I'm going to have to laser through. You ready? The reason that the sage supplied, where are you getting this double bread from? You're getting it from the tzaddik of the generation. Whether you know it or you don't know it, where are you getting this dot from? Because he is the yesod. So when you work on your brit and you get this higher dot on Shabbat, it's his dot that you're getting.
If you connect it to him, or you're not connected to him.
Whatever, I guess if you work on your brit, you will be connected to him. But I think in general, I think they're saying that whatever extra consciousness that Jews get on Shabbat that they earned, they're really getting it from the root of the Yesod, which is the tzaddik. Yes. And he says, it's through his worthiness he merits his neighbor's portion as well.
Through the tzaddik's worthiness, or through the one that's working on his breed?
Through the one who's working on his brit, you get yours and your neighbor's. That's why you get a double portion on Shabbat. Because it says in Masechet, one second, Chagiga, right, that when you, let's say you go to Gan Eden, right? You go to Gan Eden. You have a friend, let's say, he didn't try it. He wasn't trying to be close to Hashem. He was doing a lot of Averas, X, Y, and Z. What happens? So the Gemara says something very interesting. Everybody's portion, listen to this. Everyone's portion in Gehenna and Gan Eden has already been allotted prior to you coming down to the Suya.
That's really bad.
No. So the free will comes in. If you earn it, you don't go to that portion in Gehenna. You only go to your portion in Gan Eden. And if you do it the other way, you go. But therefore, it's already established. Okay, you already have it, and your free will comes in. Where am I going?
It's your maximum potential of Gan Eden. That's a lot of free will. And depending on if you reach that potential, you'll get it or not.
No, he's saying it's
And also whether you go to Gan Eden or the other. Both. Meaning what level of it within your portion, because it could be paid for.
I thought it was limitless.
It is limitless.
So why does it sound like it's a lot of, which means like it's not?
Because there always has to be a concept of limitation. Because why? You get according to your effort. Meaning, everybody in Gan Eden is in Gan Eden. But it says very clearly in the Gemara that, like, so to speak, the tzaddik's portion is going to scorch the portion next to him. Why is that scorching it? Because he got to such Why is that happening? Because that person got to such a high level that for the guy below him, even though he's in Gan Eden, which is like this unlimited, so to speak, receival or download of Da'at, still it's limited in respect to this tzaddik where he got. So even within Gan Eden, still there's different levels. And depending on where you attained in your life, you're holding by that place. Meaning you might be learning the same exact thing in Gan Eden. We're all going to be learning the same exact thing. Except because you toiled so much, it's going to be sweeter for you than it is for me.
That means the same material, but
yeah, your sensitivity to the sweetness of it is going to be dependent on the work you did. That's also true. So Rav Nachman says you should at least start every book, even if you don't finish it, because you're only going to continue learning whatever you started.
Even if I don't understand it.
Yeah. Wow. That's one of the reasons why Rav Nachman says you should just cover ground, because Rav Nachman is always in Olam Haba. So he's thinking to himself, you're only going to be here for 60 years.
I was told it's good to like read like the first line of the Zohar if you ever see one.
Okay, good.
Just cover ground. Cover ground covers you.
Yes. Okay. Gedalia Benster.
Bender.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Anyway, good. So the question is like this, though. You take. What does it mean that you get a double portion? It means that your friend who he didn't marry Gan Eden. So now what happens to that portion that was allotted to him in Gan Eden? It now goes to you.
I take it.
Does that make sense? So this is the simple understanding of the
if you're talking the breed.
This is just in general. You merit Olam Haba. It's just a side point. Yeah, it's a side point.
No,
Right?
how do you merit your neighbor's portion also?
So I'm just explaining. You merit your neighbor's portion. You talking about Gan Eden or
Yeah,
here?
Gan Eden.
Because when your friend doesn't do what he needs to do, he still has that portion allotted to him. So it's just empty space. No, it goes to you.
It's like real estate law.
Yes. It's like real estate.
Nobody inherited, so I'll be the first one to buy.
Exactly. Okay? So he says, this is why it says Shabbat v'inafash, because you get the double portion specifically on Shabbat. That's why it's the double Lashon. Why is it he rested and he rested? Tell me once. The answer is the whole concept of Shabbat is double dot.
Double dot?
Yeah.
Oh, double dot.
The Chokhmah and Bina. Okay. Now, Shabbat. Let's say you get this illumination on Shabbat. So it's very quick. You do these three things, you now are able to fight the Brit. You're able to fight the Brit, you get this higher level dot on Shabbat. Now, what happens when you get this higher level dot on Shabbat? Through this illumination on Shabbat, Nitareo Olam Tshuva, the whole entire world is roused to do Tshuva. It's roused to do Tshuva be'ahava, from love.
Because the round of that.
Yeah. Guys, listen, stop. Okay? Through this illumination of dot you get on Shabbat, you rouse the whole world to do tshuva from love. From love, which is a higher level than from fear. Even though many times initially you come in through fear, you do tshuva, but then ultimately the higher level is love.
Maybe that's exactly why we were resulting to get the Torah.
Ki Shabbat bechina tshuva, because Shabbat is the concept of tshuva, like the word says. V'yashavta et Hashem Elokecha. It says in the last generation. It says in Devarim, you're going to do many things that are going to put you in a very dark place. But then, as a result of that, you're going to return to Hashem, your God. And that word return is actually the same word Shabbat. Okay. And what type of tshuva? Tshuva from love. Why? Because what's the whole mitzvah on Shabbat? Ta'anug. You should have ta'anug on Shabbat. And there's a pasuk in Shir Hashem. It says, Ahava b'ta'anugim. Love of delights. So Rav Nachman is saying, you see very clearly that the Torah is associating ta'anug with love.
The love is pleasure.
Yes, the love and pleasure are very connected. Therefore, when do you have ta'anug on Shabbat? It's from the da'at that you're getting. And what happens when you get that ta'anug? It arouses in you a deeper love for Hashem. And then you do tshuva from love, not from fear.
I noticed my Shabbat's got a lot sweeter to start this class.
Thank God.
I think it's because I got more dot throughout the week.
Yes.
I think
They're exactly the same. They just feel better.
So I'm explaining it feels better.
It's put more sauce in your meal.
We can do a class on Shabbat.
Yes, B'ezrat Hashem.
I mean, on Shabbat. Like, the actual
Oh, you mean on
day.
Shabbat? Or how are we going to do a class on Shabbat? Where do you live? Where do you live? Oh, you do?
Why you never come to
Okay, B'ezrat Hashem. Okay, now listen to what he says. It gets very interesting here. Listen. Ba'al kol kasharim shebadur nidrapim. And when all of the people who are actually devout, right? Rav Nachman says elsewhere, there are people who they learn all day and night, they wear tefillin, they do all the mitzvot, right? He calls them sleeping. And that Hashem doesn't derive any pleasure from them whatsoever.
Really?
Yes, says it explicitly. There are people who they do everything and Hashem doesn't get any pleasure from the service at all. Okay? So he says, but the people who are really devout, and who are those people? So it says in the Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin, in the generation before Mashiach, all of the truly devout Jews, people are all going to think are crazy. Ever hear anything about breast lovers? What's the number one stigma? They're crazy. The Gemara itself says that those people who the Jews think are crazy, the non-Jews, whatever, they're the ones who are really doing it.
The Messianic.
The Messianic, yes. Okay. So he says, when those devout Jews, v'nit rapim, they're healed. Like it says, v'shav yirafalo, and so do tshuva and be healed. Okay, meaning because the dot comes down, now what happens? The whole world merits to tshuva from love. And when the world does tshuva from love, all the real tzaddikim become healed. Meaning, we know that there's a tradition, and there's a lot of Torah about the fact that tzaddikim suffer on behalf of the Jewish people. When does that end? can you help your teacher who's suffering for you? Answer is yes. By you meriting da'at, by working on your Brit, then the whole world does tshuva from love, and when the world does tshuva from love, all the tzaddikim are going to be healed. Because tshuva is what heals. But he doesn't need to do tshuva because he's a tzaddik.
Why?
No, but I'm explaining this. Why they're suffering, their sickness is not coming from their own sins.
As you're saying, when we're doing what we need to do, you're helping him retroactively.
He's also gonna be healed by that because he's actually taking your sins, and he's suffering.
There's no sins to take.
When you do tshuva, those sins are eliminated, right? And there's no
Not only
sins.
that, but those sins actually
Become merits.
but they heal you.
Yes,
also.
that's very good. That's why the pasuk says, "Achen chalayenu hu nasa." This is actually one of the sources for, unfortunately, Yeshka. Right? What do they say about Yeshka? There's a proof because it says in the Torah, it says in Yeshaya, that the Mashiach is going to bear our sickness. So you see, Yeshka did it.
It sounds a little apikoursi.
Right. So, but the truth is, there is a pasuk that says he bore our sickness, and there is a concept of tzaddikim taking on the sickness of others. It is a real thing. Obviously, it got distorted within Christianity, but it is a real thing. And Mashiach himself, I don't know if it's a Gemara or Midrash, I think it's a Midrash actually, says that out of all the suffering that there is in the world, Mashiach agreed to take upon himself 1/3 of it.
1/3 of all the world's suffering.
Yeah. It's a lot of stuff.
I can't even handle it. How do you handle that?
The answer is that the Arizal says, why does it Moshe lives in 100 to 120?
She's far away.
Why does it say, you just rocked his world?
He's
Okay, I read the halacha.
He pulled
He just created peace in your heart. You ready? Now you're gonna have to get up. You're gonna have more peace in your heart. Okay, I'm just kidding. Okay, listen.
Don't be clear. Carry on Torah. You keep sitting here.
It's Torah, and for Rosh Hashanah, you have to get up only when you see them. He's gonna walk before.
Okay, this is for another time. We'll have this debate later. Okay, you guys need to learn halacha.
Look at that.
Okay, everybody listen. So, how is it that a person can handle 1/3 of the world's suffering?
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. So the Arizal gives an answer to this. He says, why is it that Moshe lives 120 years? Because actually he comes down 120 times.
What do you mean comes down?
Moshe is reincarnated 120 times.
Does he live to 120 years every time?
No.
That would be trippy.
That's why it says he lives 120 years, because he actually comes down 120 Gilgul. And therefore, through those 120 Gilgulim, why does he keep coming down? To suffer for everybody.
Moshe was the first one.
So even though he doesn't seem like he was the first one, the Rizal explains all of them were an aspect of
But he
Moshe.
doesn't come down in every generation.
He does.
How?
There's only 5 aspects of the tzaddik.
So yeah, but within the tzaddik, it's a different thing. Within the tzaddik emes himself, there is an aspect of Moshe that comes down in every generation. That's 120 times.
So Rav Nachman technically was a spark of Moshe.
Could say that. I don't know. I didn't see that anywhere. I'm just like, for the sake of understanding. Okay, whatever. Yeah. Okay. Right. So why are they sick? That's the reason. So when the Jewish people do tshuva from love specifically, these people are all going to be healed. So now listen to what he says. Very, very interesting what he says now. And when everyone does tshuva from love, what's going to happen when they see real people who are like true chashuv Jews, that they're really trying to connect to Hashem? They're not going to be crazy anymore to them. They are going to be the people that everybody admires. So Nachman says, how do you know Mashiach is here? When these people that are despised by others and looked down upon, they are actually the ones who are held in the highest regard. People are not going to be looking at athletes and musicians and all these people and saying, wow, I want to be like them. They're going to see people who are actually the whole world stands on them. And they're not going to be like, this guy is a religious fanatic. They're going to be like, you are the whole friggin' show. So when everybody feels like that, that's a sign Mashiach is here. How does that whole thing happen? No, only after these people are healed. Because until they're healed, they're despised. So you see, it really comes from us, that when we do tshuva from love, which comes from us working on our brit and getting this da'at, then these real chashuv Jews all are healed, and then they become admired. Okay? But Rav Nachman says something very interesting. It says like this. What is this type of prominence that they're going to get? What is this? That they're going to become beautiful in front of the eyes of all people? Hayofia Gedula, this greatness that they're going to have, Hitziyun. Tziyun. What's Tziyun mean? Where's the word Tziyun come from?
Israel.
Right, it's called Tziyun. But where's that word Tziyun come from? It comes from Tziyun. Tziyun means a mark.
Yeah.
But specifically a mark that is one of prominence.
That's what they call the grace of tzaddikim.
Yes, exactly. And also because the gematria of Tzion and Yosef is the same. It's 156. Yes. It's the Brit. That's why wherever the tzaddik is, it's like the land of Israel.
We're like the Freemasons.
Okay. Why? Because Tziyun, the siman, it's a sign. Or a shimu, it's an impression, it's a hint to Mishnah Torah. If somebody has a Tziyun, meaning he's rectified his Brit, it means he is receiving Mishnah Torah, double Torah and Shabbat. Okay?
That was the fifth book of Moshe.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Right. Yeah. Like it says, Har Tzion Yarkatei Tzafon. The mountain of Tzion, Yarkatei Tzafon, is the thighs of hiddenness, or the north. So what's the connection? So if Nachman says Har, always alludes to Gedula, greatness, meaning Malchut, kingship, that people around him respect him. Now it's called a mountain. Har Tzion. Why is he getting respected? Because he has a Tzion. He's a master of Brit, and therefore he has higher level Torah. What's the higher level Torah he merited? Yarkatei Tzafon. The thighs, or it literally means the northern side, but Rav Nachman translates it in another way. Yarkatei can mean not side, but thighs. And the Gemara says thighs are always hidden, just like the Torah. And what's Tzafon? It's hidden. It means north, but it also means hidden. So he says that when there is the Har Tzion, meaning that the guy who's Tzion, he's the tzaddik, he gets respect because people did tshuva. Now he gets to reveal Yarkatei Tzafon, the hidden Torah. Meaning his thighs. That until then couldn't be revealed because the vessel, he's going to say in a second, for receiving higher level Torah is giving kavod to the tzaddik, or to the person who's teaching you. Meaning what? What is the vessel for a person to bring down chidushim into the world? So very interesting. There's another Torah in Likutei Mohoran, I forget exactly where it is, where he says explicitly that Bali Tshuva all have hidden Torah within them. Okay? And there's a whole reason why. We're not going to get into that now. When does that hidden Torah come out? Because this hidden Torah is actually higher level than the revealed Torah. When does the hidden level Torah come out of the Baal Tshuva? Only when those around him give him kavod, give him honor. And he says that the more honor that that person gets throughout his life, the more that those hidden Torahs are going to be able to be revealed. Right, so he's not saying you should be looking for
He's
it.
saying you should give it as you.
Meaning you should give it to the teacher because then he's going to be able to reveal higher. It's like, so to speak, you're tapping into his kishkas.
I gotta get you a lease.
No, so he's just saying in general, when you're learning from a Baal Tshuva, how are you going to get the most bang for your buck? Rav Nachman says, give him more kavod. If you get
Any Baal Tshuva, no?
right, any Baal Tshuva.
That's
Even though
what
it doesn't know any Torah.
Anyone who doesn't know any Torah, yeah, for sure, you should give him kavod because that's the reason why Hasidus, when they deal with non-religious Jews, their whole thing is to honor them. They make them feel very special. Why are they doing that? Because they're unleashing the hidden Torah that's within them that they don't know about, and it becomes revealed, right? Yes, exactly, and that's why, though. 1 second. You see, everyone in our generation, the biggest rabbis that we connect to are Bali Tshuva. A lot of them. The ones that, right? Shalom Arush, Rav Eliezer Brody, Gedalia Fenster. They're all Bali Tshuva. So you'll notice something very interesting. Gedalia gets like 750 people in his shiur. He gets like over 700 people in his classes, okay? If you look at his classes, I don't really watch his classes, but I imagine if you went to his classes from a few years ago and you watch the ones now are better.
That's what people giving him cover.
That's
Maybe that's exactly another reason why you should attach yourself to the tzaddik. Because when you're attaching yourself to him, you're being submissive to him. You're giving him cover.
That's right.
And therefore, he knows what to do with that cover.
Exactly.
Is this why they say Mashiach has to be a Baal Tshuva?
Yes.
Because he's gonna have to be.
Yes. And that's what I want to say. And what allows Mashiach to realize he's Mashiach? Probably only when the whole world follows him. Because no, I'm giving you an example. If what it seems like, according to Rav Nachman, that Mashiach's parents are going to be seemingly is going to be a Baal Tshuva. And also, Mashiach's whole thing we learned is to reveal a hidden Torah. So if all the Baal Tshuva are holding on to the hidden Torah, so what's going to allow him to reveal it? So if Nachman says, it's when the followers give kavod. That means, what does kavod mean? It literally means how you actually give honor him, but also the amount of people that are listening to him. So now if you get more of a following for this Baal Tshuva, now he is tapping into higher levels of hidden Torah. Right? So all of these rabbis, that they're getting bigger and bigger followings, their Torah gets better and better. That's if they don't fall into gaiva. Because Rav Nachman's going to say now, however, there's an issue. Why? Because even though everything I said is exactly what needs to happen, we need for this whole process to take place, for the rectification of everything. However, he says that these devout individuals, they must be very, very careful not to succumb to gaiva.
Gaiva is
Arrogance. Because obviously, once everybody starts to want you, right, and is interested in you, so your ego can become very enhanced. Inflated. And that's an issue, right? Why does this happen?
Hence the notes.
What's the reason that they fall in gaiva? So you would think it's because they themselves are blemished, right? To some extent, they get this new attention. They don't know how to handle it well. So Rav Nachman said that's not the reason. It's an amazing thing. Listen to what he says. The teacher who's revealing these hidden Torahs, he starts to experience gaiva from the kavod he's getting when the followers themselves do not watch their mouth.
What?
When they do not use their mouth for kedusha, they
Watching them breathe.
okay, it's also connected, good, but just simply when they're busy speaking lashon hara. So as a result of that, the mouth has to do with malchut. So if Nachman says when the followers or the Jewish people, whatever segments of them, speak lashon hara, automatically their kavod goes to the wrong person. It's because the mouth, which has to do with kingship, is very connected. So your ability to anoint the real king is dependent on your ability to be careful with your mouth. Meaning not to speak lashon hara, to speak words of kedusha, X, Y, and Z.
not to curse.
Not to curse.
So people who can't connect to quote unquote the tzaddik is due to the fact that they're blemished in their mouth.
That's not exactly what I'm saying. Could be that what you're saying is true, but the point he's trying to bring out is what's going to cause the arrogance of the person who becomes anointed the king, so to speak, meaning he's a leader of people. That arrogance is not going to come from him because he's devout. He's really doing his best. The issue is going to come from the people who are giving him kavod, because their kavod that they're giving him is going to be blemished because their mouth is blemished.
So how can he control that?
He can't control that.
He can't fight it. It's not bad.
It's dependent on the Jewish people doing what they need to do.
But then, how can that be fixed?
So let's see. The answer is that the teacher has to teach the students to really work on the aspect of the mouth. Right? They need to do ibodedut every day. Maybe that's another reason you have to do ibodedut, because it rectifies speech. So if all of your followers are doing ibodedut, so you're using your mouth perfectly, and know what happens? The kavod you're going to give is sweet, and the teacher is going to be able to give high-level Torah, and he's not going to become arrogant as a result. Very interesting to note. I met a person in Israel. I told you guys the story before, but I think it's worth noting. And I had a conversation with him. He's a very smart guy, very, very, very smart. And we're speaking about free will. And I was trying to explain to him this very deep yesod which Breslov brings over, which is like the most connected to Breslov teachings, that everything is from Hashem. Everything. Not just that he, so to speak, but that he's doing everything. Okay? Therefore, what about horrible things that happen? Hashem does it, and you don't understand why it's good, it's also good. Okay? So this throws people for a big loop. Because what about justice? And what about all this? And it's very hard to fathom. Okay? So this guy starts having a long conversation with me, and he's getting very heated. And I'm just talking with him. And at the very end, he looks at me and chokes me, and he sees that I'm just and then at the end I say, I said, okay, I hear what you have to say. I just ended it like that. I was interesting point. I have to think about it. And he was shocked that I wasn't fighting with him or I wasn't responding and and he said to me, I'll tell you something. because he was actually knocking Breslev in the beginning of the conversation because he saw very quickly that I was like very into knocking the teachings. So at the very end, he said, "I will tell you something. Every Breslever I ever saw was tremendously humble." This is what he told me. Every Breslever I ever saw was tremendously humble. What's the reason for that?
He's going to do the rectifying their mouths, therefore never got arrogant.
Okay, that's the deeper reason that I want to say. That's the deeper reason. And what's the simple reason? Who's the people who come and they find Rav Nachman the sweetest?
Farthest people with the most.
Yes, the people who suffer the most. And you know what suffering does? Makes you very humble. Makes you very humble. I remember I had at yeshiva, I told you this as well a long time ago, that my rabbi was speaking about tzedakah. Where is the best place to give tzedakah to? To a mikveh or to a Beit Knesset?
Mikveh.
Beit Knesset.
So you would think it's the Beit Knesset or the Beit Midrash or whatever, and the halacha says it's better to give it to a mikveh. So then I said to myself, well, why aren't people giving it to a mikveh? Why is everybody giving it to the Beit Knesset, to the Beit Midrash? So my rabbi said, matter of factly, it's because nobody puts up a plaque with your name on it in a mikveh, and you get to see everywhere in the Beit Midrash that you're the one who contributed the money. I said, yeah, but the halacha says it's better if you give the money this way. Why don't you get the money? He says, because you don't get any honor that way. And the whole thing was so foreign to me. I was sitting there thinking, and I was struggling with the whole.
Wait, why? Nowadays you see everywhere.
Okay, so now they do it because they want it, whatever. They want to make sure you also give to the mikveh. But I'm just saying, whatever it is, I was struggling with the fact that we have clear black and white. Better bang for your buck with your money is to give tzedakah to this place, and you choose not to, so somebody could see that you give. That didn't make sense to me. You're already giving money that you worked for, whatever. So I went to my rabbi after, and I told him, I really don't understand. I actually don't understand what you're saying.
Genuinely.
So he told me, David, there's a big part of you that doesn't understand what I'm saying because you've been through a lot in your life, and therefore you're humble. And because you're humble, you don't understand what it means to want honor. But most people want honor very badly. And the only reason I'm telling you that is because why are most Breslevers humble? Because of what they've been through. It's just when you go through so much, you realize how small you are. You know, when I am, just being open with you guys, but like when I'm in a psych ward and I'm getting treatment from a million doctors and I'm hanging out with the craziest people in the world and I'm getting all types of different psychiatric treatments, some very severe that you only see in horror movies, you can't help but feel that you're not anything. And then when you actually like make it, you can't forget that. You know, Hashem brought me there, Hashem brought me here. I think that's the real reason why it says that you should make yourself like a kaneh, like a reed. Right? What was the whole thing with the reed? So it's called a kalmus. Okay, but it's because why? So the Gemara says in Ta'anit, because it bends but it doesn't break. Meaning to everybody you get like all over, but you just take it. But it says that what happens to that person at the end, or what happens to that reed at the end, you turn it into the writing utensil that you make Torahs and mezuzahs and tefillin. Meaning, this is what Hashem uses to reveal God in the world, is that pen.
So that bends you but doesn't break you because he needs you to be bent to get to the right shape.
So that you can be a real king, meaning a king that's completely shifut. It's not about you at all. So therefore, the whole reason why these breast lovers are suffering is because in the end, they're going to have malchut. You know, you can't use it properly unless you first bend but didn't break. Okay? Okay, this is the end of the Torah. Does anybody have any questions with the minus 2 minutes we
like
have?
a siyum or something for this one. This was a lot.
Yes, there's a lot of stuff. Okay, guys, Chazak Baruch. Please, everybody here who is a part of the board called Sion, I need you Thursday night to be at this meeting. I need you at the meeting.
What time?
7:30. Before the class. Here.